All right, today we are digging deep into one of the most influential books on personal effectiveness ever written. We're going way beyond the checklists and the quick fixes to really get at the core ideas that make the 7 habits of highly effective people so timeless. This isn't about temporary solutions. It's about the deep, foundational principles that have literally changed millions of lives.
So let's start with a question that I think hits home for pretty much all of us. Why is it that our best efforts so often fail? You can have the best intentions, the most detailed plans, all the motivation in the world, and you still end up falling short. We set these goals, we make promises to ourselves, but then somewhere along the way, the momentum just fizzles out. It's an incredibly common frustration, and it's the exact problem Stephen Covey was trying to solve.
And look, these aren't just vague feelings. These are actual statements from Covey's research. Do any of these sound familiar to you? Hitting your career goals but feeling empty because it cost you your family life. Starting another diet for the 5th time and just feeling like you can't keep a simple promise to yourself. Or just being busy, constantly busy, but wondering, does any of this even matter? These aren't just personal failures. They're symptoms of a much bigger problem.
So what is that bigger problem? Well, what Covey found was that over the last century or so, the way we even think about success has completely changed. We've all kind of fallen into what he calls the success trap, where we're way more focused on the outward appearance of success than on what's actually underneath. And this is the huge shift from what he called the character ethic to the personality ethic.
Just look at the difference here. For about 150 years, the idea of success was all about the character ethic. Things like integrity, humility, patience, what Covey calls primary greatness. It was about who you were. But then things shifted to the personality ethic. It became all about your social image, quick fix techniques, how to influence people. It became about looking good, not being good. These are just what he calls social band-aids in aspirin. They might cover up the symptoms, but they don't fix the underlying problem.
I mean, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? You can't fake a harvest. A farm runs on natural laws. You have to do the work, you have to plant the seeds, you have to water them, you have to pull the weeds. You can't just show up in the fall with a great attitude and expect to have a crop. It's ridiculous. And personal effectiveness, well, it works the exact same way. It's a natural process. You reap what you sow. There are absolutely no shortcuts.
Okay, so if quick fixes and shortcuts are out, where do we even begin? Well, the first big foundational idea is about understanding how we see the world in the first place. It's about realizing that every single one of us has a map in our head that guides everything we do, and that map might be completely, totally wrong. Covey has a word for this map. He calls it a paradigm. It's your personal theory of how things work. But here's the kicker. Your map is not the territory. It's not reality. It's a subjective model based on your life, your experiences, your conditioning. And this leads to one of the most important sentences in the whole book. We see the world not as it is, but as we are. Our paradigm is the lens for everything.
And this is exactly why just trying harder or being more positive so often fails. I mean, imagine this. You're in downtown Chicago, and you're trying to find a specific building, but somebody accidentally gave you a map of Detroit. You could have the best attitude in the world. You could run twice as fast, but all you're going to do is get to the wrong place faster. Your effort is useless if your map, your paradigm, is wrong to begin with.
This little story just perfectly nails the difference between our maps and actual reality. The battleship captain, he's operating from his map, his paradigm of power and authority. He's a big, important battleship, so reality should bend to his will. But the lighthouse is objective reality. It doesn't care about the captain's rank. The battleship has to change course, or it's going to crash, period.
And that's what principles are. They're the lighthouses. They are the natural laws, the territory itself. Principles like fairness, integrity, honesty. We don't invent these things. They're just there, like gravity. Our maps are subjective beliefs, but principles are the objective reality. So to be truly effective, we have to align our personal maps with these unchanging principles. So once we understand that our paradigms are shaping our world, we discover the next core idea. And honestly, this is the source of all our freedom, our growth, our ability to change from the inside out. And it's found in this tiny, powerful little space that most people don't even realize is there. Just think about this for a second. Something happens to you, right? That's the stimulus. And then you react. That's the response. But what Covey says is that between those two things, stimulus and response, there is a gap, a space. And in that space lies our freedom and our power to choose our response. This is everything. This is what separates us from being just reactive animals driven by instinct. And you can literally hear this choice in the language we use. Reactive language gives away responsibility. I have to do this. He makes me so mad. It's the language of a victim of circumstances. But proactive language, that takes responsibility. I choose to do this. I control my own feelings. It acknowledges that while you can't always control what happens to you, you can always control how you respond.
This leads us right into our third foundational principle, and it's wrapped up in a really simple but incredibly profound metaphor. It's a timeless story that holds the secret to long-term effectiveness in literally every single part of your life.
The principle is called the P/PC balance. So P stands for production. These are the results you want, the golden eggs. PC stands for production capability. This is the asset that actually produces those results, the goose that lays the golden eggs. And the key to everything, true effectiveness, is balancing the two. You want the golden eggs, for sure, but you have to take care of the goose.
This table just shows you exactly what happens when that balance gets all out of whack. If you focus only on production, only on the golden eggs, you will eventually destroy the asset that produces them. You burn out your own body for short-term results. You run a machine into the ground to hit a deadline. You squeeze every last penny of profit out of your customers, and then you lose their trust forever. The lesson here is a universal law. If you neglect the goose, pretty soon you're not going to have any more golden eggs.
So, we've looked at these three massive ideas: the character ethic, the power of our paradigms, and the P/PC balance. These aren't just tips, right? They're a completely new way of thinking. The question becomes, how do we actually apply this stuff? Well, Covey's prescription is a really profound exercise that makes this all very, very personal.
And I want to leave you with this final, powerful question. Seriously, take a moment and really visualize it. Imagine you're at your own funeral. What would you want people to say? What would you want your family to say about you, your friends, your colleagues? At the end of it all, what will have mattered the most? Answering this question honestly, that's the first real step to finding your own true north and making sure that the ladder of success you're climbing is leaning against the right wall.